Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Effective Resume Thursday. It is January 19th, 2022. Very glad you're with us this afternoon. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. This is also for those who are on Zoom. For those who are on Zoom, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please just enter them into the chat window. For those on Facebook, please just enter your questions in the comment field. I am monitoring both feeds and we'll be sure to get those questions answered for you. Also, for those on Zoom, if you'd like to connect with other people who are on the call today, please feel free to put in your contact information. Put in your name, put in your LinkedIn address, your email address. Tell people a couple target companies that you're looking for, because you never know who else is on this call who can help you. And once again, that information does not appear in the recording that will happen. We are going to review 1 or 2 resumes live today online. We've already had one person submit 1 resume. So we may have time to look at a second one at the end of this presentation. If you do send it over, please be sure to delete your header information so we don't see your name and email address and phone number, because this will be up on Facebook and YouTube from here till electrons stop floating around this earth. So just send it to Jeff Morris Host and we will take a look at it a little bit later. All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org, a website to help those who are unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I started a second website, careerusa.org, to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search that you may not know. It is available on Amazon, or if you see me in person, I always have copies with me. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. The group's been around since the late 1990s. I took it over in 2007. We've got a really interesting 2-part program starting tomorrow morning. So I'll tell you about that at the end of this session. So hang on, because we've got a really good program coming up there for tomorrow and the following Friday. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team. Remember, your resume, your LinkedIn profile is not going to get you a job. All it will do is it will get you a phone call. How well you practice your interviewing skills, that's what's going to get you your next job. So for more information, just reach out to dallaspitcrew.com and you'll get more information there on how to do that. All right, we've got a 2-part agenda here. Let me flip over to my other presentation. Here we go. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about, the first part of the thing is we're going to talk about the ATS system, the applicant tracking system. We're going to talk about a 1-page bio. We're going to talk about a master resume, and then we'll talk about the key components that I think a resume should be in. Now, remember, what you're going to hear, these are sort of my opinions, and there'll be a slide here that's got some other people's opinions, but remember, you show your resume to 10 different people, you're going to get 10 different answers. What each individual person wants is going to be a little bit different. I'm just telling you what I think are the best practices that are out there, primarily if you're filling something in for an ATS system, but we'll talk about other things also. All right, let's see here. All right, so we have some resume tips from an expert. We always like to start this out. The resume tips this week are from Gail Houston. She's an executive recruiter. She's a co-leader of the Career Transition Workshop. You may have seen her in the past. They were running that workshop up until COVID for almost 20 years. So here are just some of her recommendations. Number 1, be sure to add your LinkedIn URL on your profile page and click on and just make sure that it's edited. So a customized LinkedIn URL. What we're talking about here is, if you take the generic one, it has your first name dash second name or last name / and then a bunch of letters and numbers. You want to change that to just say Jeff Morris Career DFW or Jeff Morris PMP or Jeff Morris PM project manager or Jeff Morris TX, something that will get rid of all those extra letters and numbers, because that becomes a very searchable term if somebody's trying to find you. Number two, you want to be able to add a professional email with the closest, largest city state. So this is on your resume. Mary loves kitty cats at gmail.com is not an email address for professional. John Smith PMP at gmail.com is the way to go. If you have an AOL account, you're then telling people that you're OLD. Okay, so try to get a Gmail account, get something that everybody's using nowadays. It really would be beneficial. You want to list the largest city state. If you live in Little Elm or if you live in Prosper, I would probably list the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Okay, if you live in Dunwoody, Georgia, you may want to list the Atlanta metro area, Atlanta metropolitan area, because that will look better. And if people are trying to find you, it will work better on your LinkedIn profile and on your resume. Make sure you have a focused title statement at the top. For example, Java front-end engineer or marketing brand manager. Now, what we're talking about, and I'll point this out, and just when we get to the key components of a resume, is you want to put underneath your name, you're going to have city, state, phone number, email address, LinkedIn address. Then you're going to put the job title that you're applying for. If you've done that job title before, if you're qualified to do that, you want to tell somebody, here's my name, here's what you're looking for, and this is the title, that these match. You're pairing those things up. I'll point that out when we show the resume in a little bit more detail. You want to make sure that your resume is accomplished based. We want to see results. Okay, when she says not a tactical responsibilities, what we're talking about here is every bullet point should have a result. Don't tell me what you were supposed to do from a job description. Tell me what you did and what successes you had by doing those things. Okay, because if I need, we just put out a job application, or fill out a job application, and you have generic stuff on there and it reads like a job description, you haven't told me what you've succeeded in. If you've told me that you increased sales by 20%, hey, I need a salesperson who can do that. Whatever those details are, show results, and we'll talk about that a little bit more also. And then number 5, her 5th point, is be careful with formatting. You want to make sure you leave some white space. You want to make sure it's not so crowded that a recruiter cannot easily read it. She recommends 2 pages if you're experienced. If you've graduated, if you only had 1 or 2 jobs out of college, you can probably get that on 1 page. Okay, but white space is good. You don't want to decrease your font size down to 8-point font or 7-point font just to try to fit things in. If you need to go to a 3rd page and you've been working for 20+ years, you probably can do that. That's probably okay. All right, so now let's talk about the resume versus a 1-page bio. A lot of people probably don't have a 1-page bio. They haven't thought about it. I'm a big proponent of it. I think it's an extremely, extremely effective tool in your job search. When you send a resume out, it signals you're looking for a job. Help me, help me, help me. I need to find a job when you send that resume out. But when you send a bio out, you're just letting people know this is who you are. A resume focuses on work history in detail. A bio focuses on your major accomplishments, tells me what you've done. A resume is primarily a job search tool. A bio is a multi-purpose tool. You can use it for networking possibilities. You can use it when you first reach out to a recruiter. You can use it when you first reach out to anybody, just to let them know who you are. I know somebody, and the person told me that they never send a resume out until they've had a phone call with that person to know what they're looking for. Because if you just send out that generic resume, you're not doing yourself any good. So here's 2 different formats. that talk, we have two different formats here that I'm going to put in the chat window so you can see it. So a bio has your picture on it, okay? You want to be able to show somebody, because if you're going to meet them at a networking event or you meet them at Starbucks or whatever, you want to be able to, for them to be able to recognize you. Underneath that, you put a little bit about who you are. Here's your background. So here's like your 30-second introduction very quickly. Your professional biography. You want to list your education on it. First name, last name, and all your contact information at the very top. And then just some personal achievements and successes. This is telling somebody what you've done, not in the very details and not detail or not specifically to a job description, but it tells somebody, yeah, I want to reach out to this person. I want to find out more about who this person is. This is a different format. Horizontal, vertical, doesn't make any difference. Still has a picture on it. The only difference basically here is they've added target functions. So the kind of jobs you're looking for, which I think is great because it helps somebody realize what you're looking for. But this does tell somebody you're looking for something. And then underneath it, where it says here, target companies. Now, the problem with that is if you're applying at Coca-Cola and you happen to send this out and it says PepsiCo, do you think it's going to go anywhere? So if you're sending this to somebody who works at a company, you want to make sure that their company is the very first one listed here. All right. The other recommendation would be is you don't put target companies. You send target companies to your friends and acquaintances, maybe not your professional contacts, because you're going to target your professional contacts, but your friends and family and church members, whatever, this may be helpful because they may know somebody who works at one of these companies and can get you introduced to them. So let me put in the chat box right now. Give me a second here in the chat window. I'm going to load up both of those graphics here. Let me see here. Where'd it go? Here's the first one. Here's the second one. And if for some reason you can't download these, at the end of the seminar, at the end of the session, I'll give you an email address you can email me at, and I'll be glad to send those to you. Okay, so the one-page bio I think is extremely effective. This is a great book. It's called Be Sharp. It's by Minna Brown. You see her bio off on the side. Now her bio is a lot more extensive, and it's more extensive because she, besides being, she's an executive coach, a public speaker, she's a trainer. So this is more of an ad slick for her, but you can get as fancy as you want with these things, or just as plain as simple as those couple templates. But I really love her book. You can get it on Amazon for like 17 bucks if you're interested. I think it's one of the 3 books that everybody needs to have in their library because it talks about the one-page bio. And the first half of the book all talks about how to introduce yourself, your 30-second introductions, your 1-minute introduction, how to do that. So I think it's just a great tool. Please consider, I would consider buying it. All right, let's talk about a master resume. So you've got your one-page bio, you send it out for networking. One of the things I think you need to do, especially when you're starting out in your job search, is you need to make it easy on yourself. You need to get yourself a resume that could be 10, 15, 20 pages long with everything you've ever done since college. And if you did some internships or something during college that is relevant, include that information. You want the name of managers, supervisors, the address of each of those companies, the exact dates that you were there, all the details. When you put this document together, once you see a job description, you take that master resume, save it as, whatever your naming convention is to save things as, and then go through and eliminate everything that's not on the job description. The whole point of filling out sending in a resume is to match the job description and make it easy for the recruiter to see that connection. If you're like this and they only see maybe one or two things, they don't get this stuff. Okay. Now, everybody here has done a lot of really great things in their career. And you can talk about those things when you're in an interview, but you want to get that phone call. As I said, your resume isn't going to get you a job. It only gets you a phone call. How well you practice your interviewing skills and how well you're able to talk about the things in your job description to get them into an in-person interview. That's the whole goal here. List everything, certifications, patents, books you've written, list it all, because you then don't have to think about, oh, I did that 15 years ago, or I did that 8 years ago. And this is a document you should be updating, every 6 months, just to make sure it's current and fresh, especially when you get your next job. Just keep adding more details to it. I have a folder at home. I have a folder here at my desk, and I've been working since 1980, and I have resumes for the last 43 years that are sitting, that I used to, you had to go and you had to have them printed or whatever. Nowadays, you modify it just on your computer, but back before everybody had a personal computer. But now I have one master resume that has all that information on it that I can then go through and just eliminate. It makes job seeking a little bit easier. Spend a couple hours to do it. You'll save times in the future. All right, characteristics of a good resume. So the goal of a good resume is to make it easy for the applicant tracking system and job screeners to determine you're a good match. You're trying to match the job description with your resume. Very, very important. So there's a couple areas you got to make sure. Number one, we're going to talk about formatting. We're going to talk about the overall length, about how long should a resume be, and then how many years do you put on your resume. We've got a few options here. Number one, show all of your experience. Go back to when you first, had a job. The second option is show only the most recent 10 to 15 years of experience. And then option C is show details about the most recent 10 to 15 years of experience, but then have a section called prior relevant experience. So if you will, in the chat window, please put in A, B, or C. Let us know what you think everything is, and then I'll tell you what my opinion is in just a second. For those on Facebook, just put A, B, or C into the comment field. Let us know. All right, well, it looks like most people pick C. We had one person did pick B. There's no right or wrong answer here, okay? I think in some cases, if you're applying for a job in the government or an education job at a university or college, they want to see everything you've ever done. So option A would be the correct answer. I personally like option C, and here's why. When you have a section called prior relevant experience, what that allows you to do is to talk about a star story from back then. When I worked at XYZ company back in 1990, you can talk about that. If you were to have an interview and you talk about something and you say, well, I did this when I worked at company Z. Well, I don't see company Z on your resume. Oh, well, that was 25 years ago when I did that. But, you're asking for the same thing. You will confuse the recruiter or the person you're interviewing with. So I like the thing prior relevant experience. It just tells people, here's some other, and all you do in that prior relevant experience section is just put the name of the company and your job title. No years, no dates, no bullet points, unless you want to add maybe one very, very important bullet point that would be relevant, but that's all you do. So, A or C, to me, are the best two answers. But like I said, there's nothing wrong with any of it. All right. Fonts for your resume. Okay, I think this is really, really important. You want to make sure that the fonts are easy for people to read. So I like these 4 fonts: Arial, Calibri, Tacoma, and Helvetica, somewhere between 10 and 12-point fonts. Some 12-point fonts like Helvetica looks like a 10-point font in Tacoma. So I like fonts that are clean, that are clean and easy to read. These fonts, Times New Roman, Garamond, Calibri, or Cambria, the problem with those is they've got those little serifs on it. And it makes it tougher. It's not as clean. It's not as easy to see. So, to me, use the first four over the bottom four, any of them that have serifs on it. No wingdings. You don't have to put a little telephone icon, no little house icon by the address. Listen, if somebody can't figure out that your phone, that a 10-digit number is your phone number, you don't want them calling you anyway. Okay. If they can't figure out what an email address is, you don't have to put a little picture of an envelope with a little, that. So no wingdings or anything. So margins, you generally want 1-inch margins, top, bottom, right, and left. You want to leave some room that if they were to print this thing out, remember, most resumes nowadays are not printed out, but if they were to print out the resume, you want to make sure that they have some room to write comments on it, and it makes it easier to read. You don't want a heavy block of text, and we'll talk more about that in a second. Bullets like you see here, those are fine. You can do a little bit of bolding. I'd be very selective in bolding. I'm not a fan of underlining because a lot of ATS systems can't handle underlining very well. Italics, I don't think look very good. Shadows, graphics, no, and no. Okay. And do not use, do not use any text boxes. So like if you're using a header or footer or a template, if you're using a Google template or a Microsoft Office template, don't do that. Create a document that's all yours. If you like the way it looks for something, if you like the way something is, take that example, get it over to just a plain document, and you format it on your own Word document or Google Docs document. All right. Text boxes, headers will sometimes disappear and not show up when you apply those in an ATS system. All right, what happens if you've got a gap? Let's say you haven't worked for the last 2 years because you were taking care of a sick parent, or you were doing whatever, childcare, and you're just getting back into the workforce. Or maybe you haven't worked because you have long COVID or something and you haven't worked for quite a while. So a couple of things to fill a gap is on your resume. All we'll do is talking about resumes now, not LinkedIn, is you could put something down as community leadership, consulting, continuing education. If you went back to get your MBA, you went back to take several classes, you could list that job title, and then you could add a couple bullet points talking about what you've done, okay, how you volunteer, what kind of leadership, especially if it relates to something you've done. If you've been out for a while and you're looking for work, please go and volunteer. Use your expertise to help a nonprofit organization excel in what they do. So here's an example of that on a resume: community leadership and consulting. Served as a panelist and coach for the Dallas Practice interview team to help job seekers with their interviewing skills. Okay, you're showing that you're helping other people. Provide a consulting service to a local nonprofit on how to prepare and conduct job interviews and how to evaluate candidates. Now, the local nonprofit happened to be a church, but she wanted to keep it very generic, not mention a church, because what if they're not Jewish, or you're in a mosque or a synagogue or something. So she kept it by just saying a local nonprofit to make it more generic, so that she wouldn't turn off anybody not knowing who may see the resume. So this is just one way you can go through and do something. All right, so the key components of a resume now, let's talk about those. You've got a header, a summary, key accomplishment area, which is optional. Usually salespeople use this. Professional experience, prior relevant experience, optional if you want to use it or not. Your education and your software skills. So let's talk about the header. The header at the very top, you're going to put your name. Put it in the middle, put it in bold, and make it a little bit bigger than all the other font sizes, okay? You're going to put your phone number. You're going to put your city, state, and zip. We don't need your street address. We don't care about that. But some recruiters will go and say, I'm trying to find somebody within 25 miles of 75201. Okay, they're looking for somebody that way. So you want to put your zip code on there. You want your email address and your LinkedIn profile so people can copy, paste it, and put it in and be able to contact you. Now, your email address and your LinkedIn address should not be a hyperlink. You want to remove that blue underline, or when you type it in, it turns blue, but remove that hyperlink. And here's why. There are well over 100 different ATS systems out there. Many of them cannot handle an underline. That's why I say don't underline anything in your resume. Also, some, if they could handle the underline, and your email address or your LinkedIn profile happens to have a G, a lowercase g that would be underneath the base line, it could be confused and the G may come out to be a Q. All right, so that's why I say remove the hyperlinks. If somebody wants it, they can cover, highlight it, copy, paste it, and then they'll be able to use it that way. All right, your summary profile. All right, your summary statement is not going to be it's not an objective. It's not about what you want. It's about what you can do for them. So first off here, you want to put a job title that you're applying to. If you're a business analyst and you're applying for a business analyst, do this. You're a project manager applying for a project manager position, put that on there. So that way it's right underneath your name and people are going to see that. The next 3 lines, you're going to now put a quickie little thing here as far as a little summary. And you're going to mention a couple of things as far as what you've done. Okay, very important. All right. And then you're going to list under areas of expertise up to 9 bullet points. All right. Now, let me back up. That paragraph, the 3 lines max. 4, 5, 6 lines, way too much information. The reason being is that people are not going to read, people are going to scan your resume. The only person who's going to read your resume in detail, maybe, will be the hiring manager. The recruiter is going to glance through and go, yep, this person meets who I need. Let me call them up. All right. They're going to spend 10 to 20 seconds looking at your resume, probably less than 10 seconds. And hopefully you then get in a good pile. They'll then go into a little bit more detail, but they're not going to read all the detail. Keep it easy for them to read. Then those areas of expertise, list up to 9 bullet points. This is not a table. You type agile methodologies, tab, tab, Scrum, tab, 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 requirements gathering, return, tab, relationship management, and just line it up using tabs, okay? If you put a table here, a lot of ATS systems will not read a table, okay? Now, if I interview you at the Dallas Pit Crew and I see an areas of expertise table, I'm going to ask, so what are the 3 most important things that you listed 9 things here? What are the 3 things that you're best at? What do you do best? Well, you better tell me the top 3 or the 3 on the left. Okay. If you tell me that your best 3 are user interface design, customer facing roles, and developing test plans, I have a problem with that. Quite frankly, you've just lost some major points. Now, maybe you'll recover in the interview, but you've now given me a stumbling block by going, well, why do you list this at the very top? Are you not, you're not customizing what we do, and you pull these from the job description. So make sure that your top 3 are on the very top or on the side there. All right, this is an optional section about key accomplishments. All right, usually salespeople do this. Yes, I know we're all in sales. We're selling ourselves, how to be, selling ourselves in the next job. But if you're a true salesperson and you've had quotas and dollar amounts, you may want to list a section like this at the very, very top that has, it explains a couple of things what you've done. The only problem with this is I'm going to want to know, well, where did you achieve 120% of your sales target? What job did you do that in? So quite frankly, I'd rather see those underneath a job in the experience section. I think that would make things work a little bit easier. All right, professional experience. Number one, you want a chronological resume. Some people do a functional resume. Most recruiters don't want to see a functional resume. Everybody is used to saying, well, here's what I did last, here's what I did before that, here's what I did before that. And that's what people want to see. They want to see progression. Okay. Now, if you're changing fields or you're doing other things, you may be able to get by with some kind of hybrid where you sort of, here are your overall skills. I mean, there's some other formats that are out there, but most people are going to want to see this. If you're applying on an ATS system, they want a chronological resume. Functional resume will not fill in any of the blanks on a ATS system. Number two, you want to make sure your verbs are parallel. What do I mean by that? I want to say that in my current job, I want to make sure that those verbs are current. Analyze, ensure, serve, okay? The ones that are underlined in red, those are current. Now, in this current job, there's a past tense there, achieved, because that's something they did since 2014 when they worked at this company. This is something they did in the past, okay? They don't do it anymore, but this is something they did. So they're talking about a project that they handled, so it's okay. But for every past job you've done, any company be on, all the way rest of them, they all have to be in past tense. Reviewers, think about this. A person who's reviewing a bunch of resumes, they could have 200 resumes to go through. What are they doing? They're spending 7 to 10 seconds. As soon as they find a mistake, as soon as they find something they don't like, they're looking to throw people out and only come up with maybe 10 decent resumes to then go back and review a little bit more, 10 or 15 to go, yep, here's a good one. But as soon as they see a mistake, they're done. A lot of these people are English majors. Make sure everything is correct. Very, very important. Include a one-line description of the company. I think it's very, very important. I think it's important, even Fortune 500 companies, let people know there are over 1.5 million or almost 2 million different businesses out there. There is no way for people to know what every business is. Listen, I've been doing this now for 14 years in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and there's not a week goes by that somebody in there, when they're listing companies that they're looking for, will list a company and go, I've never heard of that company. Who is that company? What is that company? So put a little one-liner on there to tell somebody what the company does. What did they do? What did that company do for people? You want to be sure to limit the number of bullet points per job. 5, 6 bullet points, and the farther down your resume you go, you may only have 3 or 4, then down the next job, maybe 1 or 2, but keep them all relevant. And like we say here, focus on results. We want to know that I'm going to hire you because I need you to do something. What is it that you've done? You're a problem solver. You've solved my problem because you've said you can do this, this, and this. And you've told me in an interview how you did it. And I go, yep, I need somebody who can do that. That's why I'm going to hire you. All right, in the professional experience section, in the details, 5 to 6 bullet points per job. As we go, the second job, maybe 4 to 5, the third job, 3 to 4, 2 to 3, whatever, only if they're relevant. The bullets have to focus on results. Results sell. And bullets should not sound like a job description. So that's what we're saying. If it reads like a job description, I can read your past job description. I want to know how you succeeded doing those things. So what happens? What happens if your resume does read like a job description? You need to read every bullet point you have and play the so what game. I love this game. I think it's great. So here's a sample. The original text was guided the next phase of brand evolution for a multimedia artist and managed film production and publishing. So what? Ask the person, so what? Well, this increased business opportunities, which led to 10 new commissions for my client. That's the result. That's the biggie there. So we rewrote the bullet point to say increased business opportunities, including 10 new commissions for my client based on developing a full social media and PR strategy. All right, so you can see how that third bullet point is a lot more effective because you've given a result. You started out with an action verb. I love starting out all my bullet points with action verbs. I think it makes it more exciting. It gives you a little bit of oomph in what you do. What do you do if you've had multiple roles at one company? All right, and I've seen this happen. This happens all the time on resumes that I read, that they'll list each time, and sometimes it makes it look like the person's been, they've only been there a year, 2 years, 3 years, and they keep job hopping. And then if you spend more time on it, you go, oh, wait a second, they did all this at one place. So here's what we recommend. Number one, you want to list the company name once, company B, city, state, the, one line of what they do, and you can list the dates justified right for the entire time you were there. You don't need months, just list the years that you were there. And then for each individual role, you're going to list the job title and then put down what the years were while you held that role. So this tells me you worked there for 4 years, you had 2 different jobs, and you were each job for 2 years. Okay, this is what I think is extremely important, because otherwise, if you were to have those 2012 to 2014 and 2010 to 2012 out on the right-hand side, it confuses people because all the dates would just be all jumbled. How do you handle companies change names? Lots of companies are changing names. It happens all the time. So the first example is give the current name of the company followed by the old name. XYZ Incorporated, formerly ABC Company. Or you can give the old name of the company first and then possibly with the date of acquisition. ABC Company acquired by XYZ Company in 2008. The example I like to use, and this was somebody who's with us a couple of years ago, the company that they used to work for was called Campbell Soup. Anybody here not know what Campbell Soup is? We all know what Campbell Soup is. I mean, everybody has a can of Campbell. Most people have a can of Campbell Soup in their pantry. Okay. But his company had been acquired and changed names twice in like the last 3 years. So I told him, put down Campbell Soup acquired by XYZ Company and put down the date, because everybody knows what Campbell Soup is. Okay. It just makes the most sense. All right, education and software skills. You want to list whatever degrees you have. You want to list your software skills, and your software skills should be modified depending what's in the job description. Okay, if you're a CFO, you don't necessarily need to list Microsoft Excel on as a skill unless it's in the job description. But I seriously doubt that you're going to find many CFO job descriptions, Chief Financial Officer, who's going to list that you need to have Microsoft Excel skills. They're going to list other skills that they want you to have. So, if you're an administrative assistant, yeah, you're going to want to list Microsoft Office, Word, Excel, Outlook, PowerPoint, Project, whatever it is. List those skills, because if it's on the job description, this is another match for the ATS system to make things match, keyword match. All right, if you don't have a degree, you probably should write something like this: school, city, state, major area of concentration, whatever it is that you're concentrating on, and then list the number of hours that you have. Or you may want to say the number of hours you've completed, due to complete in 2024. Let people know that you're in progress of getting that. Okay, don't lie. Remember, we got somebody in Congress right now who's lied about everything, and he's made fun of every night on all the late night shows, just make fun of him like crazy. So tell the truth. Remember, there was that guy, football coach, hired at the University of Notre Dame. Like 3 weeks later, somebody found out he fudged his education requirement, fudged his education listing on his resume, and they fired him 3 weeks later. Okay, tell the truth. All right, one of the very important things you need to do when you're on your resume is you've got to align your resume to the job description. All right, I recommend you get a yellow highlighter and you take that job description and you go through and highlight the important key points. That's what you see on the left-hand side. We've highlighted what's on the left side. On the right-hand side is a resume, and we squished it in to fit it on one page. This was actually a two-page resume, but we made it one page just to make it easy so we could correspond things. So just a few things that you want to make sure you do is, number one, like I said, they're looking for a business analyst. That's their job description. So make sure that on the top of your resume, you say you're a business analyst. And in your job description or in the summary statement, put down you're an innovative business analyst. You know, that you've handled business requirements, improved processes. You put that in your areas of expertise, whatever it is. It's just a matter of getting these keywords, what you think are the keywords, into your resume. All right, Agile, Scrum, Visual Studio, making sure that those words appear where they need to be. You know, multiple sources, user manuals, you know, put that stuff in there so that people can see the match. Here's a couple more. So here's, you know, as we just want to remind you, keywords are very, very important. Okay. That's what's going to make the match, especially for an ATS system. That's going to be, and that's the same with LinkedIn. If somebody's searching for you on LinkedIn, it's all about those keywords, making sure that you've got the right words there that are listed. Now, LinkedIn, you have all your jobs, you put everything on there. On your resume, you're cutting it down to just what they're looking for, making it easy for them to read. You want to make sure, well, you know that resumes are scanned. They are not read. Resumes, it could only be 7 to 10 seconds for the average person to scan a resume and go, yep, I'm going to put this in the save pile. No, not going to do that. They have a UT email address, and I went to OU, and, you know, I'm not going to hire anybody from, I'm not going to hire a Longhorn, you know, here. So, you know, whatever, they're going to, whatever it is, they're going to bump you out for whatever reason. That's why I say, make sure you have a Gmail email address so it's generic. A resume will not get you a job, only a phone call. I've mentioned this a couple of times. How well you practice your interviewing skills, that's what's going to get you your next job. And you never know why they called. Ask them, hey, thanks for calling. Hey, what was it on my resume that made you reach out? It could be a comment you put on the second page of your resume that you thought was unimportant, and that's why they want to talk to you. Okay, so ask those people, ask them what it is, what they're, you know, what they're interested in. Find that out, because if you know what they're interested in, you then focus your conversation on making sure you talk about those things. All right. Lauren just said in the comment field, should you customize your resume for each job application? Yes, yes, and yeah. In my opinion, yes, because every job description is going to be a little bit different. Now, if you're applying for the same kind of job at 2 or 3 places, you probably can call up a resume you've used for one and use it as second place. But you want to match those keywords. You know, what if you're applying for a customer service representative, but they don't call it a CSR position, they call it a customer representative or a customer interface representative. You want to make sure you have the same terminology from the job description to your resume. Certifications, I would put certifications down with your education skills. Thank you for that, Sue. That's a good question. Put those down with that. Anybody else have any? If you've got any questions, you're welcome to unmute your mic. Let me stop sharing it for just a second. If you've got a question before I go to looking at a real resume, unmute your mic. Let me know what your question is. Question, I don't know if I missed any further back. I'm going to look back through here. I don't see any more. Let me in the chat window right now. I'm going to put the sample resume that we're just talking about, that we just used. Let's see here. Here's a resume. I'm also going to put in the chat window a 185 powerful verbs, action words that will make your resume stand out more. So that may be something else you can use too when you're doing this. Any other questions before we go take a look at a resume? All right, let me pop open this resume here. I'm going to go through real quickly. I'm going to delete let's see here. I'm going to delete the name and let me delete the email address and LinkedIn address so people don't know. So people can't see that. Okay, I'll leave the rest of this on here. Okay, let me save that quickly. And now let me share this. Screen share. All right, so y'all can see that now. Let me go change the view to a single page. Page width, make it a little bit easier. Sorry, let me move a couple things around. Okay, so you had the person's name up at the very top. They put in parentheses current location. Not necessary. And you don't need a street address. This person had their street address on it. I think all you need is Little M, Texas, and the email address. You don't need to put down when you list, and they had a phone number here, but you don't have to put mobile. You don't have to put M, just put the phone number on there. And you don't have to tell them it's an email address. Just list the email address. If they don't know what your email address is, if they don't know what an email address looks like, do you really want them contacting you? No reason to list that. It's extra words that don't do anything. So I would get rid of the quotes, get rid of the parentheses on both sides, get rid of the word email. And you did not, you did have your LinkedIn profile. I did delete that off of there so people wouldn't see that. So that's great. So your name was up here, summary of qualifications. This is where I would go and put the job title of what it is you're looking for. Okay, what it is you're applying, if you're applying. Okay, because it looks like a project manager. I see lots of things have. So if you're applying for a project manager or a certain type of project manager, that's what I would do. That's what I would list on here. Be careful with highly motivated, self-directed, at least highly motivated, because isn't everybody highly motivated? Isn't everybody success-driven? You know, just be careful there. I like extensive years experience. You're not saying that you've got a lot of, you're just saying you've got extensive experience in what you're doing. That's a great term right there. If possible, this is 4 lines. I'm okay with this. If you could get it down to 3, that would be great. But, instead of summary of qualifications, I would go and list, I like listing the job title here that you're applying to. And you may need to add a few key words in here that are actually coming from the job description. So these are major accomplishments, things you've done. Once again, see here, there's a result, if you can put a real number in there, that would be better than just, I'm assuming this means multi-million dollars. If you can spell numbers out, that's great. Operation lead, negotiations. Is that spelled correctly? Is that the right word? I'm not sure. Maybe it is. From 60 to 8 person hours. That's a great result. That's really going to make things here a management thing. Personally, I like to put education at the bottom. Most people want to see it at the bottom. With most jobs, if it says they're looking for somebody with an MBA or they're looking for a BA or a BS, whatever the degree is, they're going to quickly look at the very bottom of the page and go at the very bottom of the second page and go, yep, that's what I'm looking for, and put it there. Think about your resume as a folded piece of paper here. Let me grab this. You get a folded piece of paper. I'm going to look at the top half. I'm going to fold this paper in half. This top half to me is the most important real estate on here because I'm going to glance through that. And then if I'm interested, I'm going to keep going. So by putting your education and honors, put that up to the very, very top. I think it makes a lot more sense. Okay, professional experience. Is this in 2016 to 2022, or you did this for 5 or 6 months? Okay. If this is a contract job, you know, I maybe want to list this was a contract job. If you were there, if it's from 2016 to 2022, which I hope is what it was, you don't need May, you don't need November, just put down 2016 to 2022. Let's see here. Team lead. So it tells people, yeah, you put a team lead. Could you also maybe put in there how many people were you leading? You know, you were the team lead for a team, you know, you led a team of 14 people, whatever it is. That then tells me a sense of where you fit in the organization. You created what trouble resulting in multiple SMEs. I don't know what an SME is. I would recommend that whenever you put a abbreviation, NOC, SME, whatever, that you put in the very first time you do that, spell it out the first time, because you never know in a job description, are they going to have that NOC and abbreviation, or will they spell out what it is? And by putting both on there, it'll make things a little bit easier. You know, I have no idea what a RAND NOC is. I'm sure you do. And maybe people in this business word, but I would spell those things out, and in parentheses, you can put the abbreviation. The second time you use the abbreviation, like if you spell out NOC up here, you don't have to spell it out down here. Organize classes on new procedures. So this is a job description. This doesn't tell me what the success was. Tell me what, so you provided streamlined implementation of network deployment resulting in what? What is it that it resulted in? What was the success? Communication and vendors, small cell installations. Okay, once again, play the so what game. Read it and say, well, so what? What was it? Responsible for KPIs reports sent to C-level executives. Yeah, like, so what? How many different reports did you do? Responsible for KPIs and 15 different reports or something like that. All right, so once again, same issue here. I assume you worked longer than June 2nd to May 16th, but yeah, because May 16th is up here. I'm assuming this is maybe 2002 to 2016. If that's the case, great. If these were just, well, you wouldn't work from June 2nd to May 16th. That's flipping your dates backwards. So delete the months, just put the years on there would be great. Once again, I would spell out whatever this is. I think, you know, 8mm sort of, I would spell out what the whole thing is, if you could. I think it would be a little bit better. Supported a team of 30 users in 6 states. See, here's a comma. So is that supposed to be a period? Or is it supposed to be another little sentence in here telling me the result of what it was? Performing all maintenance Windows work between 2018 and 2015. Yeah, so tell me, give me some results. Same thing here, 9902. This would be very confusing to me as a recruiter. If I saw this, you'd be in the reject pile, because I'd go August 99. Wait, there aren't 99 days in August. Okay, I mean, you're making a recruiter think. A recruiter has very little time to scan these resumes. You want to make it easy and plain for them. And then you've got community service down here at define. That's great. But once again, I would go and move your education and honors, move these, you know, move this stuff down there. Now, if you got your MBA in, you know, 2022, you may want to mention that at the very, very top. But other than that, you know, if this has been in the past, I would move it down to the bottom, because people are going to want to see what you did here. So let's see here. I'm just looking down. I really don't have time to look at a second resume. I'll be glad to. Let me see here. Let me get through all these. Should lead be spelled out? Yeah, make sure you have the proper tense on here. What if they require an accounting degree, but you have a business admin degree, but you know you meet the description? I would go ahead and apply for it and make sure that you list maybe under the degree, underneath the business administration degree, that you had X hours of accounting, because I'm sure you had to take 16 hours of accounting classes. I would list that. That would be a great way how to, just list that extra little piece on there. Just seeing here. I think you put, do you put the years you went to college on your resume? Not important, unless it happened in 2022, 2021. You just recently graduated. You could put the years on that. But, this person's been working since 1999 or 99 days into the month of August. Probably, let's see, August, maybe October, towards the end of October. You don't need to put years on there anymore. Let's see, any other questions anybody has? Any other questions? Questions, comments? Thank you. I appreciate the comments in the chat window. Those were really, really great. All right, let me share a couple more things. We'll get out of here. If you would like to get a copy of the sample resume, a one-page bio, I also have sample T cover letters. If you'd like to do something like that, feel free to send me an email at resume@careerdfw.org, resume@careerdfw.org, and tell me what you're looking for, and I will get those documents to you in the next couple of days. I don't tend to check that account every day, but I know I will by this weekend for sure if I don't get it out to you very, very soon. Career DFW and Career USA, we're putting on training 4 days a week. Please come join us. As I mentioned, we have a great program tomorrow at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group, 9:30 Central Time tomorrow. Be a better brand. This is a 2-part workshop. We're going to do part 1 tomorrow. Part 2 will be next Friday with Fred Schlesinger. He's a great presenter. He's got some really good basic things you need to talk about. How to brand yourself, how to tell somebody who you are over the next 2 weeks. We are meeting in person, so those people who live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, we ask that you please come join us. If you live outside the DFW area, you can join us on Zoom or on Facebook Live. There is a handout. I sent that handout to everybody today, or for those who are on the mailing list. So you may want to print that handout out or have it available, have a notepad available to take some notes or to jot some things down tomorrow if you're with us in person or with us online. Next Tuesday, our speaker for LinkedIn Tuesdays will be how to drive recruiters to your LinkedIn profile. That'll be with Ruth Lipsky. And this session has been recorded. It will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel. On the Career USA YouTube channel, it'll be up there in a couple hours. It'll take about 2 or 3 hours for YouTube to process this. Click on playlist, and then at the very bottom, pick effective resumes or whichever playlist you like. And when you see that red arrow, click on that red arrow, view full playlist, and up will come a list of all the different titles and dates and topics of when people presented stuff. And then you can go and watch that at your convenience. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops and you'd like to join the Career USA mailing list, please do so. Just send an email to Career USA, +subscribe@groups.io. You'll never be spammed, but what you will get is the topic of the day, the title of the day, and most importantly, the Zoom link of the day. That way you can join us online. So just send us an email. You'll never be spammed because I control it. Nobody else can send an email out beside me. Please note, Career DFW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. I'm a volunteer. Everything I've done over the last 14 years has just been to help you land your next great opportunity. So whatever you can do to help give back, volunteer to an organization, make a donation when you get your next job, we'd really appreciate it. So thank you very much for joining us today, everybody. Have a great Thursday afternoon, and we hope to see you tomorrow morning.